Hello, and welcome to another Saturday food support group. We have these Zoom meetings every Saturday at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. And I just invite people to come and to share their stories because I've had so many people reach out to me in private messages and tell me their stories. And I just couldn't keep it for myself. I had to share with you all of the beautiful things that are happening when people break their addiction to sugar and carbs and processed food. And they get their brains back, they get their bodies back, they get their lives back. And they're just so excited that they can't wait to tell. And so I informed everyone that I would be recording these meetings, and I encouraged them that if they wanted to remain anonymous, that they can turn the camera off. But a lot of people they want to share. They want to share what has happened to them, and they're so excited about their new life. And then I also open it up for questions. If people are still struggling and they're still on this journey, that they can come and ask questions. But if you need more individualized care than just in a group like this, feel free to email me at innerclaritysystem@gmail.com, and I'll walk you through what it looks like to work with me one-on-one. All right, thanks. I hope you enjoy the group. All right, good morning, guys. Thank you for joining me this Saturday. And to start off with, we have an incredible guest who I gotta tell you, Brett, I think this might make you a little uncomfortable. I don't know, but you're like one of my besties. Like, you're one of my best friends. Like, you know all the good and all the bad about me, and you get me. You get me, and you continue to celebrate me in my life and love me and understand my weird quirkiness. And I'm so thankful for the Thankful Carnivore. So without further ado, I would love for anybody who hasn't met him to be introduced to Brett Lloyd, the Thankful Carnivore. Take it away, Brett. Tell us your story.
Well, thank you very much for that, Emily. I appreciate it immensely, and it's very kind of you to say all that. Can everybody hear me all right?
Yeah, if you could get a little bit closer to the mic.
Well, I can talk louder.
Oh, okay, that works. That works. It's a little bit soft, but I can hear you.
Okay. I appreciate it. It's great to be here. It's nice to meet some of you folks. I'm glad you're aware of me, and I recognize a couple of faces. I suffered from horrible mental illness for over 40 years of my life. I grew up eating the standard American diet. I grew up in a home, man, we had a textbook. We had big vegetable garden, tons of meat every day, you know, the textbook, standard American diet, etc. And out of the four of us, my dad passed away in last year or 2 years ago, 2020, from after 20 plus years of type 2 diabetes. His kidneys crapped out on him finally. My sister suffers from IBS, ulcerative colitis. My mom's had a ton of health issues, nothing terribly serious, but always aggravating for her and problematic. And then I suffered from major depression for over 40 years of my life, plus anxiety and insomnia. The last 10 years, I was diagnosed with major depression with psychotic features, because when you hear kids playing in your yard and there's no one there but you, that's not a good thing.
Yeah.
And I took psych meds for 23 years as prescribed. I followed my directions to the letter for every medication, and all I did was get sicker, more obese, and crazier. I was an angry, depressed person. I was not a lot of fun to be around, to say the least. It was just a horrible quality of life. My wife deserves a place in heaven for sticking with me during many of those years, the worst years, because I was very hard to live with. And I'm giving you the Reader's Digest version because I can only stay for about a half an hour.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Whatever crumbs you can give us, we are grateful for.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for understanding. I was first diagnosed in 1990 with major depression in the Huntington, West Virginia Psychiatric Hospital, River Park Hospital. They wanted me to start Prozac then, but I couldn't really afford it. And after the free samples ran out, I just didn't take it anymore. And then 1995, a doctor in Newport, Tennessee said, if you don't start taking some form of medication, your life is going to become very uncomfortable. I had started having really bad anxiety. I had panic attacks. I got to do the ride to the hospital because I genuinely thought I was having heart problems. Scared me to death. And fortunately, I found out there was nothing wrong with my heart when I got there. But I mean, we did the nitro underneath the tongue, all that kind of stuff. That's how it was, very scary. And it was all anxiety. So I started taking Prozac in 1995. And for a time, there was a warm, fuzzy blanket thrown over my symptoms, for lack of a better description. But I didn't really get better. I just postponed the inevitable. In 2007, 2007, around in that. Some of those dates are a little fuzzy because, again, I was on a lot of medication for a long time. And there's blocks of time that's kind of blurred for me. I had a textbook nervous breakdown. I didn't sleep due to a familial event that I don't get specific about to protect the innocent. And I didn't sleep more than an hour or two a night for about 6 weeks. And when you do that, very bad things start to happen to you.
Yeah.
That's when my diagnosis got changed to major depression with psychotic features. And they put me on a drug called Revero. And I'll never forget this. For 2 weeks, I slept like a baby. And I also gained 25 pounds because Revero is a notorious weight gaining medication. In just 2 weeks, I put on 25 pounds taking that med. And then I went on another 6-week tear of only 1 or 2 hours of sleep. And they finally found this super duper sedative antipsychotic medicine and combined with Prozac, they call that Symbyax. And that stopped the free fall from getting worse. It was a horrible existence because basically because of the medication, I would sleep 10 or 12 hours a night and then have to take 1 or 2 2-hour naps during the day. It was an existence. It wasn't much of a life. I'm a songwriter, a musician. I couldn't touch my instrument for over a year because it was too dangerous in my mind. But 2009, I decided at the end of 2008 that this was really a crappy way to live, and I was going to do whatever it took to get a little better. And I was accepting some of the things that happened, things that were beyond my control with the familial, etc. And I kind of talked myself into feeling a little bit better for a time. And then I noticed I gained an enormous amount of weight. And I was complaining to my wife, and she said, well, you ought to look into this Atkins diet. It seems like that might be something you would enjoy. Okay. And of course, I'm still Captain Cuckoo. And I look at the Atkins diet and I would see no starches, tons of meat, and you could still have snacks and things like that I was at that time terribly addicted to, but oblivious to that fact. And so I started Atkins as I understood it, and I did a very improper version of it, but I still lost like 35 pounds and my mood improved, but at no time did me, my wife, or my doctor tie the improvement in mood to the diet change.
Wow.
I got to go to my 30-year high school class reunion. I had a really good year. I started writing songs and performing again in churches. Life was pretty good, but then toward the late spring, early summer of 2010, I'm like, man, I really miss ice cream. Emily, I miss coconut cream pie so bad, and coconut
That was
cake.
one of mine. That was
And
one of my favorites.
The granola. Oh, the granola was so crunchy and it was so yummy. And I said to myself, I can eat that again. And if I gain the weight back, I can always go back on Atkins. Again, I'm a musician. I don't know anything. Plus, I'm still severely mentally ill. I'm just functioning at a slightly higher level. And so I started doing that. And then a couple months later, in July of 2010, I'm at Mass. I'm a thankful Catholic convert, and Mass is very important to me. And I was at Mass on a Sunday evening, and I got hit with this overwhelming red alert physiological warning that if I didn't get out of there right then, something really bad was going to happen to me. And I literally ran out of church, very atypical for me to do something like that. And 15 minutes later, I'm curled up on my couch, bawling my eyes out, and I don't know why. And that began the 5 years of the worst of the worst. Then it became a series of medicines. They were basically throwing stuff up against the wall to see what would stick. I tried, they had me on everything from every antidepressant that you could imagine combined with Prozac that won't kill you. I tried it. They put me on Lamictal, which is a seizure medication, also used off-label to treat bipolar disorder. And all that did was make me like a mannequin. I just kind of sat there with a blunt look on my face and didn't think much about anything because I couldn't. Fast forward through the worst of it to January of 2015. I was on about 7 different meds. I weighed 289 pounds. The last psychiatrist I'll ever have, not named Georgia Eade, told me that I should seriously consider electroshock therapy and or a long-term hospitalization. And the electroshock therapy was never going to happen because thousands of years ago, when I had a better hairline and smaller waistline, I worked in the psych field. I saw ECT patients 30 minutes after they came out of the treatment.
Oh my goodness.
And what I saw in those animated corpses was something that made an impression on me. There wasn't any way in life that was going to happen. Not to mention it's insanely expensive. And long-term hospitalization, I had a genuine fear if I could get in, I might never get out. And then a friend of mine mentions to me one day, have you ever thought of medical marijuana? I'm like, well, as a musician, it was always around, but I had a bad experience with it when I was young. So it just wasn't my thing. It wasn't something that I participated in. And my wife and I are like, well, what do you have to lose? You've tried everything. Why not? I did some research and found some anecdotal evidence that people were having some symptom relief with it. And long story short, we secured some. My wife found a can of butter recipe. She made these little quarter-sized cookies, keto cookies. They definitely were not carnivore. And I'll never forget, as long as I live, when I ate half of the first one because I was scared to death of it. And 10 minutes after I ate that, it was like 1,000 suns had lifted off my body.
Wow.
I wasn't high. I just didn't feel like crap anymore.
Yeah.
And then 40 minutes later, the high kicked in, and I learned, much to my surprise, that cannabis treated my symptoms light years better than any of those psychiatric medications ever did.
I've heard that.
My anxiety vanished. My mood improved dramatically. I could actually maintain a level of social acceptability. My wife came home that first day and I met her at the door smiling, and she's like, what's wrong?
What did you do?
What's happened? So that became part of my routine. And then, have a cookie at 4:20. And then I was watching YouTube videos then, and the same friend of mine that recommended that I look into medical marijuana messages me one day, says, oh my gosh, you got to go watch every video made by this guy named Dr. Jordan Peterson.
Wow.
I'm like, huh? Who's he? But I found Dr. Peterson and became an instant fan. I found the Dr. Peterson Destroys collection, where he rendered that newscaster in England unable to speak for like 10 seconds, only using common sense and logic. It was beautiful. So I became a fan. My 420 regimen was one cookie and at least one decent sized Jordan Peterson video.
Awesome. What a great combination.
Oh, it was perfect. And I came across this 30-minute cutout of him on Joe Rogan, where he stated in a way that this guitar player could understand how his daughter figured out if she only ate meat, she only drank water, her autoimmune issues and her chronic severe depression symptoms went into total remission. Now, this is anybody but Jordan Peterson, the man who professes the importance of telling the truth or at least not lying.
Yes.
Somebody I believe has incredible integrity. I would have flipped the channel because just eating meat, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's nuts. But because it was him, I investigated, and I had my wife watch that video with me because I couldn't accurately perceive my environment, and I might quite easily mishear or misunderstand things. And she watched it all with me, and yeah, that's really what he's saying. And then the next video I found in my search was none other than Dr. Sean Baker.
Wow.
And on Joe Rogan. And again, you had this man with incredible integrity talking in a very calm, no nonsense kind of way about how he has seen and helped hundreds of people eliminate all sorts of illnesses, mental illness, autoimmune issues, type 2 diabetes, etc., with this way of eating. And then I found Amber O'Hearn. And if you haven't seen it yet, she gave a talk at Keto Fest in 2017 that I highly recommend everybody go watch, where she literally explained in a way I could comprehend how as a species we came down out of the trees eating meat and drinking water. And so I thought, I got to do this. I can't not try this. And July 16, 2018 was day one. It was the first day I've eaten meat. I ate meat and drank water, and I have not missed a day of eating meat and drinking water. Every meal, every day, for 1,314 straight days. On the 10th day, I woke up without joint pain for the first time as an adult. I'm taking early morning walks at this time. I walked off like 94 pounds in 3 years, low carb, before I started carnivore. Got off all the meds, doing low carb, cannabis, no carnivore yet. Titrated off all of them. I'm again, Reader's Digest version here. But then on the 24th day, and I get real emotional about this because
it changed your life.
Oh, a little bit. I'm taking a walk. It's about 5:36 in the morning. And I had been feeling pretty good eating only meat. It was day 24. And it was like somebody flipped a switch. And all that rage, and all that anger, and all that shadowy bullshit darkness and sadness that had haunted me my whole life, that had prevented me from ever doing what I really wanted to do, from becoming the person I always wanted to be. It just went away. And it didn't leave me in a void, a waterfall of joy and happiness washed over me, and it has not left me for one moment since. And that's why I share my story this way, wherever I can, when I can, because people need to understand you're not broken. You're not a genetic error. Mom and dad didn't have a mistake. You were just taught to put things in your mouth that should never, ever, ever have been put there. And you can heal from just about anything. I mean, good grief, Emily. You're not supposed to be able to heal from multiple sclerosis. It's not supposed to go into full-time remission.
Nope.
Neither is bipolar disorder.
Nope.
And look at it. I mean, seriously. And so, you know, the carnivore way of eating is only as difficult as we choose to make it. I still to this day follow the same directions that I learned about at Zeroing In on Health from the 10-year plus carnivores like Kelly Hogan, Dr. Lisa Wiedemann, Charles Washington, and those people. And I follow them to this day. Every meal, every day. It's the foundation for my life outside of my spiritual life. And only eat when you're hungry. When you're hungry, only eat meat till you're not another bite full. Only eat the meat you crave, that satisfies you, that you can afford. And under no circumstance do you ever put a sweet taste into your mouth.
I love that.
That was simple enough for this guy could figure that out. That was easy. You know, I took a look at keto and I'm like, measure this, macro that. And I'm like, huh? Are you serious? I'm a guitar player. I'm not a nutrition. I'm not a logger. I'm not going to keep a log of all that. And so just for those of you, I don't know wherever anybody's at in their journey, wherever you're at, trust your body, trust the process, be patient, follow the directions, and you will heal on your body's timetable. There's no shortcuts. You can't improve what already is perfected, quite literally. And we were designed to only eat meat. We were designed, our body absorbs 98 to 99% of all the nutrients in every bite of meat we ever swallow in our life in our small intestine. It's never wasted. It gets used. And it's always used for our benefit when that's all we consume. And I thank you, Emily, for this chance. Wow, that's a 21-minute version. I've never done it that quick before.
Thank you so much. That was beautiful. That was beautiful. And what I love about your story, Brett, is that it doesn't make sense. Like I meet you know, people and you know, they're older and they just think I'm set in my ways, or they think I'm just, like you said, I'm just a musician. I'm not a nutritionist. But I think of you and I'm like, I know that all you got to do is get down to those 4 basic things and to hear our stories and to just know that there's hope. There's hope for you. So Brett, how can people reach you if they want to reach out for coaching with you, because you coach?
Okay, you can go to Revero.com and I will include a link to my coaching page here in just a moment.
Sure.
And you can book me.
Awesome.
It's 30 minutes for $17.99, although for the first coaching session, I always go 40 minutes because 30 minutes just isn't enough time to say what needs to be said, to answer everybody's questions that everybody naturally has. And then after that, I try to see people. I always recommend, depending on, unless they're a special case with a lot of special needs, I generally see people once every 2 weeks. But I'll see them more often if they need to, if they want to. Client's always the boss of that. And you can find me on Instagram at thankful.carnivore. I can't talk and find this real well.
No, you're fine. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on the replay of the YouTube video. So I'll put it in the notes.
I was wanting to put it in the chat here. They changed the website naturally. So it used to be really easy to find, and now I have to go through a bunch of different menus to get to it. It's
no problem. I have personal contact with everybody in the meeting. So if you want Brett's link, then just message me and I'll send it to you. And I'll put it in the YouTube notes for sure.
Appreciate that. But I also do off-platform coaching. I charge a little more for that. I charge $40 for 40 minutes if it's off the platform, and you can pay me through PayPal. But the Revero Health, it's always $17.99 for at least 30 minutes. And like I said, I do go more. And once the coaching session's over, that doesn't mean the end. I always tell my clients, if you have questions in the future, which most people do, you can always email me. And if you absolutely need to talk to me, you're about to do something, commit an act of self-sabotage, you're about to cave into a craving, then I also give the clients that I feel comfortable with my phone number, and they can text me and we can have a conversation, and I can hopefully talk them off the ledge. But that's how I do coaching. And I can't, oh, here it is. I found it.
Awesome.
So I'm going to put that right there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brett. Thank you for gracing us with your presence. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your work. Thank you for your consistency. Thank you for your transparency. And thank you for your friendship.
Well, honey, you're very welcome. And you are a dear soul. Your nightmare and my nightmare are like in competition for what's the saddest damn nightmare you ever conceived of. And then you got better, and then you had to deal with other things. But because your brain was no longer inflamed, you navigated that beautifully.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. And I'm not leaving for another 4 minutes, but I don't have to.
Awesome. Well, you might want to hear this next one. So hang out as long as you can. If not, watch the replay on YouTube. I
will definitely watch the replay. I promise.
All right. Thanks, Brett.
Thank you.
Next we have on Instagram, he is the Bipolar Carnivore. And Ron has actually an incredible story. So Ron, I would love for you to just share with us what your experience has been.
Okay, I'm way older than anybody on here, and I am not a techie. My son fired me when he was 8 years old, about 30 years ago. So I did unmute.
Good job.
So I'm on. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, this story is way too long to tell, other than I was for many years, 74 years as a matter of fact, a typical member of the Western civilization, primarily this country, the US. And I had everything that money could buy when you went to the doctor, and except cancer. I've never been diagnosed with cancer. Now, that's another subject completely, but I was told that I would be on dialysis by the end of 2019. And I said, no, I won't. And this was a very brilliant nephrologist that I respected highly, genius type guy. Anyway, I said, no, I'm not going to be on dialysis by the end of the year. And he said, yes, you are. And I said, no, I'm not. And he says, well, how do you figure? I said, because Polo, that's my dog, and I have a little camping stove, and we're going to bed one night and I'll get up. And he said, well, that'll work too. And so anyway, I left his office. That was the 14th of June in 2019, went home. It was 106 degrees outside in Manhattan, Kansas, with probably 95% humidity. And the air conditioner had blown up in my mobile home that I was living in. So long story short, I was always looking for stuff about, the quick fix of diabetes and all those other things. And so I went on YouTube, and as my one son would say, that God directed me to Dr. Jason Fung. Now, I don't know if you don't know Dr. Fung. He's a nephrologist in Toronto, and he is what I consider the expert on fasting. Now, fasting is a toxic word. Most people, as soon as they hear it, run screaming out the door and close their mind, etc. Now, back up, I have a degree in biological sciences. I was going to be a doctor and then got married, and that changed that story. But anyway, so he was pretty deep in the weeds on the hour-long lecture that I caught. but I could follow him. I don't know all the big words and couldn't care less about all the big words, but the concept just struck home absolutely clearly and logically. And I looked at Polo and I said, Polo, there's the answer right there. And I didn't put any solid food into my mouth, what turned out to be 62 days. Now, liquid, I had water, coffee, and then a little bone broth. I don't like my coffee hot, and I'm not a coffee sipper, I'm a coffee drinker. So I make ice cubes out of bone broth and put it in my coffee. Now, everybody says 62 days. Well, that's irrelevant. After the third day, there is no negative. It's only positive impact on your body, except for one. And I will admit, since I live alone, as most old bipolars do, I did not have as much social pressure to eat something. I got the guys at the coffee shop to accept, that I was not going to eat. And after a week, got the biggest compliment of my life when I walked in. One of them looked up at me, who also had Parkinson's, by the way, and said, damn, you're looking better. Anyway, so long story short, it ended up being 62 days. I lost 48 pounds or something like that. Diabetes was gone in a week. In other words, insulin and the drugs and hypertension. And of course, the kidney disease. When I went back in after 90 days, this nephrologist took a look at me and he said, God damn, what happened to you? I said, well, I lost a little weight. He said, I guess so. Anyway, and then he started looking at the blood work. And as I said, he's a genius kind of guy. So he's looking at blood work and he goes down there about 2/3 of the way and he looked at me and he says, can you do this for all my patients? I said, well, I probably could, but you're not going to let me, are you? And he said, isn't that the shits? I can't let you. I have to keep doing what I've been doing. Anyway, so I did not do the fast for anything except avoiding dialysis, because I had a friend on dialysis and I had made up my mind, no way am I doing dialysis. That's worse than death. Well, in the process of this 60 days, I was absolutely shocked at how much better I felt, how much more energy, before I could barely get up in time to get to the coffee shop by 11:30 and then had to go and take a nap. Anyway, so I'm going to shorten it all up. Since I'm a biologist by training, I got busy trying to figure out why in the world this happened to me, how it happened, and what happens if we play around with it. And so as I sit here, you can tell by looking at my face, I've gained about 20 pounds intentionally by going back on our traditional diet. And this is my second round of doing this. And what I find is that I can get back a few little symptoms of Parkinson's, which is the one thing I'm focusing on, because like you and your MS, you tell somebody this story, they say, you're lying. I mean, my best friend that I grew up with is an MD, and he just flat out told me, you're lying. I said, well, you sorry son of a bitch. I've known you my whole life. And we haven't spoken hardly since. Now, I believe, particularly at an elderly time where your body's been subject to most of the wrong things its whole life, that we have to start over in the gut. It's all what's in the gut and how the gut works. And I believe at my advanced age, I don't have all the time in the world to get better over the next 10 years or whatever. I'm living on borrowed time now. Okay. So I believe that you just quit eating, clean the gut out completely, and start over with what it's supposed to be getting. And not only is the fasting the most therapeutic healing event that you can do, and by far the fastest and easiest, but then when you start over with what we were intended to eat, which, just like Brett was saying, I mean, animal products, even today in the tribes that aren't prostituted with the Western diet,
Yeah.
they still are going to eat any animal product that they can get their hands on. And if they can't, then they've got to go to round two, which is some kind of a plant product. And our body simply is not built for that, but sometimes it has to get along on that. Now, I also believe that once you get your gut healthy, you can throw a piece of cherry pie at it as long as you don't do it for a week, because your body can't adjust. In other words, grow these bad bugs and all that stuff in a week. In other words, your body will just flush right on through it, no negative impact at all. At least that's been my experience. Now, as far as the other neurological diseases, as I said, bipolar is diagnosed in 1973 and quite literally ruined my kidneys with lithium, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm one of those that took my meds here at Texas Tech Health Science Center, the psych department. They called me their resident type 1 bipolar, because who took his meds. Now, most bipolars don't take the meds, but anyway.
Yeah, you're right.
So now I'm in the process. He mentioned Dr. Eid. Okay, Dr. Eid's got it figured out. Dr. Chris Palmer's got it figured out.
Yes.
When I sat with him out in San Diego here a few months ago, he said, Ron, I'm not your doctor, so I can't recommend this. I can't prescribe this. But he said, you don't need any of those drugs, which I'm down to I take one pill a day just to make my local psych shrink feel better. I'm in the process of trying to educate him. He is a retread mechanical engineer that went back to med school, et cetera. So he has a inquisitive mind. And I'm in the process of trying to show him some things that he did not learn and is not going to learn in any type of med school, because it's all about money. Yep. And it's all about religion, going way back in before 1900s. Anyway, you can't change that kind of stuff. And I agree with Dr. Ludwig that the only way we'll change it is what they call legislating from the bench, like what happens with cigarettes. In other words, if a jury at some point says, you know, Mr. Kellogg, you need to pay the state government and the federal government and all these plaintiffs right here $1 trillion. And then somebody looks up and said, maybe we're doing it wrong. Now, you probably know this, but we came within one vote of changing the pyramid in the table back in December of 20. One voter came in and killed the research that had been done to prove that low carb, the carbohydrates and sugar are the problem, and that they were going to change, the pyramid. I still call it the pyramid.
Yeah, I get
we got to wait until 2025 now before that happens again. And many of you are interested in how that all works. Nina Teichholz is the leader in that in terms of research, and she has an organization in Washington that's trying to get some sense beat into those people's head. The long story short, as I said before, it's long. I have a charitable foundation, and my goal in life is to somehow get somebody's attention and raise some money to research and get it written down in black and white with all of the peer reviews and all that stuff. I've only got a BA behind my name. It's got to have a lot of letters. But raise some money so people like, Dr. Phillips in New Zealand, he's my partner, if you will, in the neurological aspects of it. And this country, I have found nobody else. If anybody knows of a neurologist that's interested, do you have a neurologist, Emily?
I do, and I actually just fired them because they just keep telling me to inject myself with meds.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. If anybody knows a neurologist that's open-minded to see what works in this country, New Zealand is Dr. Matthew Phillips in Hamilton, New Zealand, is the guy, and he's got just starting to do some YouTube stuff and is doing some bona fide research now. but he tells me that fasting is just too radical for too many people. And the idea of not eating, I can tell you that it's so much easier than anybody ever thought. If you can overcome the wife and the kids and the neighbors and the friends who are going to literally try to take you down and jam food down your throat.
Seriously.
It's physically, it's easy.
What is your you said a charitable organization, or what did you say?
Well, I just formed we had a family foundation that my dad
Foundation.
Well, yeah, this is a 501c3 that I just recently formed, and it's called TexCan, capital TEX, capital KAN, Charitable Foundation. And I was hoping to carry on my dad's mission was to help single mothers get on their feet, get educated, get healthy, number one, and, the scholarships and all that kind of stuff. But I want to add to it research, get some money for people like Dr. Matson, who retired, gave up, couldn't raise any money, at Johns Hopkins to do this kind of research, because no pharmaceutical company or anybody's going to back it, because you don't sell anything, you lose sales.
Yeah.
So nobody in what I call SAMS, SAMS, the Sad American Medical System, ever wants to do anything about what you did and what Brett did and what I did and so on, because there's nothing to sell. Now the coaching thing, I would love to help people, but I'm technologically challenged. This is about as far as I get. But and my age, of course, I'm way past my expiration date. A bipolar male supposed to die by 62 or 61.
Seriously, on that kind of medication. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you really are a miracle.
Well, I don't understand. I wouldn't say that. And I don't say I cured Parkinson's. I just don't care if I've got it, because if you don't have symptoms and you don't take meds, no neurologist would diagnose you with Parkinson's.
There you go.
The same impact on bipolar and anxiety and all those brain issues that Brett calls crazy, and I've been called crazy my whole life. They just melt away to be a non-issue because, as you said before, the inflammation basically disappears and the cells work the way they're supposed to work, the mitochondria and so on. So I'm a believer in fasting and following up. I eat once a day, animal products of all kinds. And it's cheap and it's easy and it works. And Dr. Sivas in Florida is basically my primary care doctor. And the last blood work before it, I've been 3-4 months in what I call get pathetic. He said, "You're good to go. You got a plan for another 25 years. And I said, "Holy crap. I don't know about that." But anyway, I don't really have anything to do time-wise except this health thing. And, my personality is not conducive to good communication. And sadly, most people, as soon as you mention the word fast, they're gone.
Yep.
Becky's on or not, but there's always a reason not fast.
Yep.
And anyway.
Well, I thank you so much for your time and for pushing through those barriers of the technology. And like you said, the communication skills. I think you explained that beautifully and brilliantly. And I do thank you so much for explaining the power of fasting. The only caveat that I would say is that there are people who are coming from a disordered eating with body dysmorphia. You obviously were not in that situation. You were not trying to starve yourself and lose weight. But I just want to say, for all the followers that are coming from anorexia and bulimia, fasting is something that you really need to be cautious about going forward with.
Yes,
but I can't throw out fasting. Fasting is powerful.
Yeah, it's the quickest and easiest way to get healthy, without any question. And I don't know what the research is on the disordered eating things. I don't specialize in that by any means. But I would like to see the research on that, because the body has such a innate, not desire, but can't stop it kind of thing of healing. Whenever we take away the requirement for digestion and turn that energy into autophagy and all of those things that are healing, that I'd like to see research on that. Michelle Hearn is a good friend of mine, and of course she comes from that background.
She's amazing.
She's much younger, and we talked about this many times. But fasting for a younger person, I don't think is as critically important as it is for an older person, because of the damage that we've done to our body relative to, a 30-something, 40-something, 50-something even. And so she will agree 100% fasting, but she didn't need to do it. And the people mostly that she works with, are the cool people. they don't absolutely have to. And in your case, I would say that probably was true too. But anyway, that's another whole topic.
Well, and I got to tell you real quick, what I do is I've been eating the carnivore way, high fat, low carb, well, no carb. And I find that I feel really good to do like a 48-hour fast. Like I just feel so good doing it. And I don't do it for losing weight. I don't do it for anything else except for autophagy.
You can actually gain weight fasting, because most people are 90% fat and no muscle, and converting, and building muscle and so on, which is heavier than fat. But anyway, I guess that's a thumbnail. I have all these visions about writing a book and all that, but I can't write. So
hey, you got 25 years. Why not?
Well, yeah, but I can't put words together in a sentence that you can understand.
Well, all you got to do is come on here and we'll record it and we'll put it out there.
I appreciate that.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Ron. I appreciate it. And you are on Instagram at the Bipolar Carnivore. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
No problem. All right. And Jules, I would love for you to take a minute, and you and Claire, to explain what you're working on.
Okay. Claire, maybe you'd like to start?
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, so with Jules, we work together to create a safe environment for people with mental health issues and with eating disorder. And we recently created our network to be able to speak in a quiet place, in a confidential place, where nothing is recorded, where everyone can speak freely about their mental issues. Jules, you want to explain more? Because your English is more perfect than mine.
No, your English is fine, Claire. When we started out, it's actually funny how we found each other, because in France, we both have a psychoanalysis background because of our years of study and treatment. And so, we didn't know that when we first met. I just knew that she was from France and I was, and we both started at the same time. So it's really, coincidental that we met, but we both have, this eating disorder background, which has affected us. I'm also bipolar 1. And, we kind of combined our knowledge and started talking about our experiences. And of course, hers was growing up in France, as mine was growing up here in California. And we realized there's a lot of things that in different support groups that we've gone to, we haven't got the help tailored to us. Like, for example, like Ron was talking about fasting. Fasting, I agree, is great. It's an amazing tool. It can help a lot of people. But before you heal someone's trauma from an eating disorder like anorexia, if they try to start fasting, that could cause serious damage, especially if they're young and they're still deep in their trauma. Both of us are in our almost our late 30s now. So, for us, it's not exactly the same as someone in their 20s when they're younger, and that's, they might be more unstable. We've been through a lot. We've been through hell. We survived, and we're still here. So still, we thought, we really need to think about creating a safe place for people with mental disorders and like bipolar 1, schizophrenia, schizoaffective disorder, depression, and eating disorders, where they could come and feel safe, and not in a public group where meetings are recorded and their identities are showed, but someplace where they can come and talk and not feel judged, not have comparisons all the time about other people's weight loss or weight gain, and really try to create a specific safe place for people like us. And that's kind of what inspired us to start working together on this a month ago. And we just launched last week. Now it's a soft launch, of course, because we're getting everything up and running. We're learning the systems. We're learning how it works. But, I just, so far the turnout has been incredible. I've received so many direct messages, so many messages from people thanking me for creating this. And I know there's a need out there, based on the research that I've been doing. Currently, I'm trying to finish my doctorate in PsyD, what was put on hold because of my illness, 15 years ago. And, in the research I'm doing now on nutritional psychology, I can see how many people are affected. Like some of the research points to about 50% of Americans suffer from some sort of major illness that's classified in the DSM-5. Yep. And then their entourage, their family and friends also suffer often PTSD from living with that person or having to care for that person. So it's about 80% of our population in the United States currently is suffering. And yet the number of mental health groups that are out there, support groups, is very small. I've been working and volunteering at one for 10 years here in San Diego, and no one, it's not many people that come every night. And we host meetings four nights a week. And that was really the only way I could use my psychologist background at the time, because I was too sick to work and have a private practice. Now, as soon as I got better, both I and Claire got better, I could have returned to my job, started up a private practice, making $400 an hour, but I wasn't going to reach a lot of people doing that. We need to get this information out there about nutrition, about how it impacts the brain, how it impacts the body, how people can heal, like all of us in this group have found healing. And no one's doing it on a large scale. And I believe that social media can be used for that if it's done correctly. If the people who are talking, like myself and Claire, who are certified coaches, with a psychology background, we can talk about the effects of nutrition and health with authority. And that needs to happen more and more, because people, doctors, psychiatrists, psychologists, they're not trying to hurt people, but they don't have the information that's already exists. In the book Better
their
Brain,
hands are tied.
Their hands are tied. So I can affect more change. I can help more people as a certified coach than if I tried to help them as a clinical psychologist.
Exactly. That's why I let go of my license, because I was like, the state board didn't want me talking about nutrition.
Yes.
So I can't do this. I can't sit in front of a client going, I see your pain and I know the answer, but I can't tell you.
Yes. And I want to do my PsyD not for a license, but just for the information to prove at an academic level that this exists and that this works. I have all the information. I've been studying for the last 9 months nonstop. And this group that we created is part of that, to show the world that through minimal counseling and coaching, we can effectively change people's lives for the better.
Absolutely. How do people get a hold of you or to get a hold of your meetings?
Okay, so you can go to my Instagram at Daddy Carnivore. I have links in my bio, or you can go right to this website. I'll put it in chat.
Okay, I'll put it in the show notes of the YouTube.
Okay.
You have to understand that our main goal is to help others. We don't want to make money. We don't care about this. The thing is, if we want to make money, we speak about weight loss, and it's really easy, you know. But speaking about mental health and eating disorder is not really paying topics. But we don't care. What we want to do, our goal is to help others, because carnivore diet helped us, and we want to spread the word. And I was thinking before that I couldn't heal from anorexia nervosa. My psychiatrist told me, no, it would be, there will always be a relapse and everything. But now I'm not relapsing, and I have hope, I have a future. And what happened to me, I want this to happen to others. The same with the other mental illness. So that we are really here just to help people. And not to help them not to be ashamed of being mentally sick. Because a lot of time people with mental illness don't deny it because it's like, yeah, they are ashamed of it. So in the safe environment, you can put a name on your disorder, you can put a name on your sickness, and accepting your sickness, you can heal. And
Absolutely.
that's really the aim of the group.
That's amazing. And I think that there's so much need. I mean, there's no way. It would be completely arrogant and ridiculous to think that I could meet all the need of this with this meeting every Saturday for 1 hour. There's no way. There are so many people that need and could use this resource. So that's why I told Jules, absolutely, please tell the world, tell people about this. And it is completely affordable. How much is it, Jules?
We want to keep the price at $10 a month, because I mean, when I was at my sickest, I didn't work for 6 years because of my bipolar and joint pain. And I know that it was impossible for me to spend money on my treatments. I was really living off Medi-Cal at the time. And I know, people like myself, they just don't have money. So we want to make sure this would stay affordable. We're keeping it at $10.
Well, thank you guys so much. Thank you. I mean, I'm so grateful for this vision that you guys have to help others. And I am so excited. I'm so behind you guys. Thanks for sharing this.
Thank
you for having us, Emily. Appreciate it. And we'll see you every Saturday. We love
All
this
right,
group
awesome.
and everything you do.
Great. Thank you so much. I will put the contact for Jules and for the it's called Heart Carnivore.
Heart Carnivore. Yeah.
Yeah.
Heart stands for healing, eating, achieving, recovery together.
There we go. There we go. All right. Thank you guys. It has been a beautiful Saturday morning with you, or wherever you're at, whatever time zone you're in. And I love these meetings. I love connecting with you guys and hearing your stories. Have a good one. Bye. Hey, I hope you enjoyed the group. There is always so much beauty in being transparent and in really recognizing that we're all not alone on this journey. And so if you want to, feel free to join the Saturday support groups. They're every Saturday at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. And if you need more individualized care, then reach out to me and email me at innerclaritysystem@gmail.com. And I would love to walk through and show you what it looks like to work with me one-on-one. All right.